I was implored by our fellow host to bring back a certain segment, and I think that this particular one actually not endures, but it deserves it. So we're going to go to Alabama, of all places, where they have a step in the right direction, step in the right direction, yeah, step in the right direction. They're stepping in the right direction, yeah. Kelley has no. Rob has a story. Sorry.
Thanks, Cynthia. That's me. Here we go. After Roe versus Wade was overturned in 2022, several states criminalized abortion. Among them was Alabama. After the overturning, I personally saw many people go online, Facebook and the such, and say things like, if you ever need a place to go while you see some doctors, you can hit me up. Clearly, we're creating an underground railroad sort of support network for people. Now, these states where it was criminalized, you can criminalize the mother. This is sad but permissible under the new laws. The doctor, again, sad but permissible. But did you ever think that Alabama's Attorney General, Steve Marshall, would sue people out of his own state for conspiracy? However, federal judge Myron Thompson has ruled that the Attorney General, Marshall, cannot, as that would interfere with their protected First Amendment rights, as well as the right to travel in the U.S. of A. This story is from Metro by Sarah Hooper on April 1st of 2025.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. So I want to go to the person who has also another womb. AJ, is this good news?
Is it good news? I don't know. I mean, the title of the article was Major Win for Abortion Rights in the US. And I want to feel good about this outcome, but I just can't. Well, this is a big deal, okay? It's a big deal for Alabama because abortion is flat out banned there. There's no exceptions, not even for rape or incest, which also includes underage victims, right? It's like children, little girl. But that is exactly why I cannot feel positive about this. Is it just because, oh, wow, you're not going to get punished for helping someone, drive someone elsewhere for an abortion? This situation is still really, really awful. They still have to drive somewhere else to get the procedure. And if you really think about it, it's really depressing because this means that the residents of Alabama have less abortion rights than women in the United Arab Emirates, which is an Islamic country. They passed laws last year to allow women to get abortions if they're raped or in cases of incest. So, unfortunately, women in Alabama aren't alone. Half of the states in the US have abortion bans that don't give any type of exceptions for rape and incest, including where I live, right, in Texas. So many of the other southern red states like Oklahoma, Louisiana, Tennessee.
Alabama.
So, Alabama, obviously. Remind me how this is happening in the so-called land of the free.
Even if we put it to the states that do give an allowances for rape and incest, a lot of times they don't give allowances for rape and incest.
Mm-hmm.
We covered a story about a young person who was 13 years old who was raped in Mississippi, where they have on the books, you're supposed to give allowances for rape and incest, and they didn't allow it for her. She ended up having a baby because her mother did not have enough money to take her to the nearest place for her to get an abortion, which was in Chicago, Illinois, which is over 9 hours away driving. So there's always some type of caveats when it comes to some of these, trigger laws, as they were called, once Roe v. Wade was overturned. But Kelley, is this anything new for Alabama?
No, not at all. Alabama has a history of getting involved with other states' laws. That this is all the way back in 1850. They were one of the states that argued for the Fugitive Slave Act to be passed, so that a runaway slave who had made it to a free state where they were safe could be put in chains and hauled back to be chattel once again in states just like Alabama. So this shit is nothing new to them, nothing new at all. And what really gets me about this is the GOP's continued proclamation of being for states' rights. They obviously don't give a shit about states' rights if those rights go against their own agenda, as they do in this case. This is one more case of the total hypocrisy within this political machine, and it's this open hypocrisy like this that creates the distrust in the government, which actually could be a good thing in some ways. All you need, folks, is faith in the system. Yes, faith in the system. It's what keeps them in power. And now back to our regularly scheduled show.
I think you're not fully respecting Alabama's states' rights to trample in other states. And if they had just had
that part,
if they had just had the correct rights to begin with, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. But what's the unfortunate part, Rob?
Well, the unfortunate part is back to, it's similar to Oklahoma. It's the continuing chipping of trying to just get away with more and more shit. Like the reason why this is actually astounding to me is because it's like worse than Walter, I believe, right? Because at least they're not lawyers here. Like presumably they ought know the law, and the jurisdiction of any given power is one of the first things that you have to establish and abide by. So like the fact that they want to just completely ignore their own jurisdiction and go beyond that is like, it's worse than overreach, right? Like it's heinous. It's insane. It is Harry Potter and the gall of this bastard. Like that's what it is.
Well, I have a question for all of you. In what ways can community organizations, because like we established in another episode this week that change does not happen from the top down, but from the ground up. So how can in what ways can community organizations continue to support reproductive rights in states with extreme bans? AJ, I would like for you to start, and then Rob, and then Kelley.
Again, we discussed this in one of the last episodes that we recorded, and I think that the main thing that people can do is to continue to push the lawmakers that are putting out these laws. Like, even if you live in a red state, still continue to write letters to show up at the door of your representatives. Okay, I'm sorry, like their public office. Don't go to the house, please. Don't be a stalker. So yeah, show up, like stand up, speak up. Don't stay quiet, and just take it. Don't just take it. That's the best way that we can help. As individuals, we can help these community organizations to help these people that are, whose rights are being taken away.
Rob?
It's going to be hard because ultimately, really, the only thing they can do, in my mind, is vote out the people and get other people voted in. The reason why they wanted to try to prosecute people out of state who are helping the travel due to conspiracy, the reason why they can't do it is because it's outside of their jurisdiction. However, if the community within Alabama are trying to help the people get abortions, then they are perfectly within the state of Alabama to be prosecuted for conspiracy. So that's insane. So yeah, do the voting, get them out, and then if you're feeling up to it and you're spicy, then like literally create another underground railroad to hide and keep secret these people who need those things, because that's the only other way they're going to be able to do it without actually being prosecuted for conspiracy.
Listen, I need everybody to read the story of Harriet Tubman if they really want to understand the Underground Railroad, how it worked, and how also human beings powered it in order to get, ex-slaves to safety. And I agree with the point where I know that, like, all you Black activists that actually happen to watch this, please do not, like, beat me down for like making equivocations of the underground railroad with what's happening today. But even as the Bible says, there's no new thing under the sun. There is a such thing that us, the people that's on the ground, can actually set up networks to be able to get people to safety in order for them to get the services they need. Back in 1850, 1840, 1830, it was getting ex-slaves to freedom, whether it's to the north or even all the way up to Canada. Nowadays, it's helping those who have the ability to become pregnant get to states where they don't have these draconian laws that would keep them from being able to make decisions on what they can and cannot do over their bodies. And I believe that is contingent on all of us who call ourselves humanists and call ourselves activated in this space to help in some kind of way within their capacity to make this happen. Kelley, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know what? I have a lot of thoughts here. We were talking about what we can do in the community. One of the big movers and shakers in the community has been Planned Parenthood, and they have been trying to get rid of that for years, and I'm afraid that they are going to now. There's a bill in Congress right now to defund it. This is something the GOP has wanted for a long fucking time, and they've got the ability to do it. So I think that's going to happen. So one of the things that we need to do as a community is to step up and help them stay in operation. They are going to need funding. So if you're looking for things in the community to do, help fund Planned Parenthood. Another thing I wanted to mention was these lawsuits, these here against people that they have no jurisdiction over. We talked earlier this week about Ryan Walters bringing a lawsuit that really has no constitutional bearing. And these guys are not stupid. They know they are not going to win these lawsuits, but they make headlines. They're in the news. I'm out there being a Christian warrior. I'm on the front lines. I'm fighting for you and the Bible so that we can put God before everything. And that's why they're doing this. That's exactly why they're doing this. So, I mean, that's maybe one of the things we need to do is fight back against that message, that there's a reason why we don't want the Bible out there in front of our government, right? And then you mentioned the changing of the Underground Railroad, and something I've been saying for months now is that we might have to have a Rainbow Railroad going up to Canada. So I'm like right near Canada. I'm sure I could find some boats to take people across Lake Superior. So I'm volunteering to be the last stop on the railroad.
Listen. I am all about you guys. If you are in the States right now, find a place where they sell really good poutine, because you're going to need it if you decide to go ahead and go to the north. And get used to saying and knowing what that really means. But and if you guys just give me a little breathing room, I do have a reflection. So, in a critical win for human rights and bodily autonomy, a federal judge has ruled that Alabama cannot prosecute individuals who help women or people who are able to become pregnant travel out of state for abortion care. This decision affirms what many of us already know. Basic freedoms, including the right to travel and the right to offer help, do not vanish at the state lines. Attorney General Steve Marshall attempts to weaponize conspiracy laws to intimidate helpers was not about protecting life. It was about punishing dissent and expanding control. If it had succeeded, it would have set a chilling precedent that a state could oppose its narrow ideology far beyond its borders, even on actions perfectly legal elsewhere. This really reminds us that reproductive freedom, like all civil rights, doesn't depend on geography. And for all organizations like Yellow Hammer Fund, it means that they can once again support low-income people without fear of being criminalized. Let's be clear. No one should face prosecution for helping someone access medical care. And seeking an abortion is absolutely medical care. And no state has the right to trap its citizens within its own ideology. This fight isn't just about abortion. It's about our shared freedom, dignity, and moral agency. And if you, dear viewer and listener, want to hear more about our moral agency or anything else we decide to, pontificate about, click here.